Okay, so we have officially begun the first meeting of driver interface. Uh, I was hoping to get some introductions from everybody who is participating today. I'm not going to force you. If you don't feel like talking, that's totally fine. If you just feel like creeping in on the meeting, totally acceptable. But I do encourage eventually to get to know everyone in the group. I believe that'll happen naturally, organically, if you don't want to introduce yourself today. But I'll go ahead and go first. I'm Nathaniel. I am the lead for driver interface. My major is electrical engineering. I'm a fourth year. Uh, the reason that I've joined UCR Solar Car is, first of all, we're building a vehicle. That's a challenge in and of itself. I love myself a good challenge. Secondly, it's a solar car. Like a lot of people in my age bracket, I have a lot of opinions regarding the state of our environment. Being able to prove that you can work in an industry that is renewable, I think is probably a good thing. Specifically, I joined driver interface for two reasons. The first is that I really like electronic devices, and this really gives you the opportunity to play around with a lot of different versions. So it's really flexible. We're working with both physical systems and electronic systems. Um, and the second thing is that it's your mark, it's your signature. When you look inside of a car, when you look at the vehicle, you could say if I worked on the battery portion of this vehicle, but no one really sees that. They are going to see the steering wheel. They are going to see the lights. They are going to experience how the gas pedals work. They're going to experience all those things. So it kind of just puts your information out there in front. Not only that, but I remember back when I was researching schools to go to attend, and doing research on job availability for my degree. One of the things that kept popping up in the different forums and with people who've already gone through it is you want two things specifically on your resume. You want an apprenticeship, and you want to be on a team that specifically competes. Uh, I believe that this is pretty accurate. I believe that this is definitely a good opportunity for people to kind of distinguish themselves from other from the gigantic pool. When you go into an employer's office, how do you make that distinction between you and everyone else who's trying to get that competitive job? Well, one of the things you can do is say, well, I worked on this team, we built a car, we raced it, and then if we're lucky and we work hard enough, we could also say that we won that competition. That would look tremendous on any resume. Um, so yeah, those are some of the few reasons why I've decided to be lead on this project for driver interface. Does anyone else want to go? We can start with, if you would, like a format. I have here name, major, and reason for joining Solar Car, and specifically driver interface. Does anyone want to go?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So my name is Ivan. I'm a computer science major, and I'm in my third year now. And as for my reason for joining, it's mostly because I haven't been involved in anything else, and I also thought that this project seemed really cool,
Hmm.
and I was just interested in getting involved.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely is separate from just taking classes. Like if you're just taking classes, and what are you really learning? You're learning how to pass tests, right? And occasionally you're learning how to do projects. But this is really up to the individual. You can really make your mark here. Anyone else want to go? There's no pressure, by the way. If you just feel like stalking the meeting, you don't feel like talking right now, that's totally fine.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I'm B, and I'm a computer science major, and I'm a second year.
Okay.
And the reason why I joined the driver interface is because I thought the project seems pretty cool, and it's like an opportunity for me to work with other people as a team, and to contribute to a project.
Yes, absolutely. Being able to work with many other people is a skill that they try and teach you, but realistically, you're going to be on a team with no more than say four people. Here, you're on a team with like I want to say there are 80 people interested in not driver interface specifically, but you are also on a team with electrical and mechanical and battery and all that. And we are going to have to work together as a whole cohesive group. So being able to work with everyone, that's a skill that you wouldn't be getting otherwise. So yeah, that was good. Anyone else?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Woo Bin. I am a fourth year CS student. The reason why I joined driver interface is because I prefer like the hands-on approach. Although I'm a CS major, I do like working with physical components
Hmm.
like Arduinos and Raspberry Pis, etc. And I thought it would be pretty interesting to see what driver interface would do in terms of like the physical aspect.
Well, I have good news. That is up to us, so we can determine how we're going to go ahead and implement all of these systems. So if you have an idea, if you want to express some creativity, that's totally in the realm of possibility. Of course, we do have to meet certain standards, right? We have to make sure, like, it's going to be an actual car, so there are definitely vehicle standards that we're going to have to accept, and we're definitely going to have to provide the necessary specifications for like the other teams so that the whole car works cohesively together. But for the most part, there is actually a lot of creativity, and I'm glad that you mentioned Arduinos and Raspberry Pis because I don't think I'm going to get into it right away, but we do have to have a discussion about Raspberry Pis, and Arduinos later on. So I'm going to come back to you on that. I think was that everyone, or everyone who was willing to go ahead and introduce themselves?
I can go.
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry.
That's all right. My name is Isai Mateo. I'm a fourth year electrical engineer,
Oh, nice.
and I actually joined driver interface since last year.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so I was part of the team for about a year.
But you're going to be very integral to this because I'm actually new myself. Of course, you knew that. So I'll probably
Yeah,
be picking your brain a lot.
right. Yeah, so I've kind of got some knowledge of like what we originally intended for the driver interface, but definitely, like you said, it's a lot of room for improvement and new ideas for sure.
Yes, yes. And so, thank you so much for everyone went ahead and did their introductions. That's really great. Awesome start. I'm super happy about that. So let's go ahead and move on to my next talking point, which is I'm trying to get a reading on all of your interests and your skill levels. Now, as I mentioned in the Discord, I'm not this isn't a job, so your abilities and your skill level is not as important to me as your desire to gain those skills and abilities. So I was wondering if anyone could tell me if they have zero experience, some experience working with Arduinos and Raspberry Pis. Was that Woven?
Yep.
You were talking about your experience with Raspberry Pis and Arduinos. Do you mind if I pick on you first? Kind of
Sure.
get a better yeah. So what experience do you have?
I'm more specifically more into the Raspberry Pi part, and as for that, nothing too crazy. Like, I think the furthest I've gone is like one of those kits from Amazon that just include a bunch of gizmos and gadgets, and you connect it with GPIO pins and breadboards. That's pretty much it.
That's good. Hold on, I'm just writing down some notes. Okay, Isai, I think I want to come to you last because it feels like you're going to have the most experience. Is anybody kind of like new to all of this stuff and they were more interested in like learning about it? I'd really like to. I don't want to call you out, but I'd really like to know if you are kind of new to this, so that we can kind of figure out like what your interests would be and how you would like to incorporate new information in order to be on the team.
I think I'm kind of new at stuff. Sorry, I don't really know what we were talking about. I was in class. Sorry,
Oh, that's
joined
okay.
a bit late.
That's totally fine. Did you want to introduce yourself? Everyone went around and we said our names and our majors and our reasons for joining the UCR Solar Car project and specifically driver interface.
Okay.
Um, if you want to get that information, I'm just to let everyone know, I am recording this session. 'Cause there's a couple people I don't think got that first disclaimer. I am recording this session, and I do plan on uploading it. So please keep that in mind when you do start talking. I don't want you to say something without having that knowledge.
Got you. So my name's Hallie. I'm a freshman. I'm a comp sci major, and I joined because it just sounded like a really cool project.
Very nice.
Yep.
Okay. So Hallie, you said?
Yeah, Hallie.
So do you have any experience working with any physical implementations like SolidWorks, Raspberry Pis, Arduinos, or anything of that nature?
Not really. Over the summer I started looking at a Raspberry Pi, but
Okay.
I'm just no. Basically nothing.
Awesome. I really like that we have a couple people here already that are interested in Raspberry Pis. I have an opinion. I'm kind of an elitist when it comes to Raspberry Pi versus Arduino, but I definitely wanted to get everyone's input before I make any final decisions. Does anyone else want to go ahead and tell me their experience, their skill level, experience, or lack thereof? And again, if you have no experience, that's completely fine. I just want to get a gauge on that.
For me, I don't really have that much experience,
Okay.
except for like what I've learned in class. I remember working. I don't think it was an Arduino, but basically, I just made a program to like make the board have the lights go on and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really it. But I
Okay.
am interested in learning about Raspberry Pi and anything honestly.
So when it comes to boards and Raspberry Pis, generally, if this is the kind of work that you want to go into, and I know a lot of you are CS majors, I'm not actually sure how flexible they are with their boards, but I know that for electrical people, we have to be able to be very flexible when we go between board and board, whether we're working on FPGAs, Raspberry Pis, Arduinos, dev kits, etc. There is a kind of ubiquitous nature to it. And one of the traps I see a lot of people getting into is that they kind of have preferences. Like, say, a lot of people will be really into Arduino, they won't be able to, they don't really like the idea of kind of expanding from that. And the thing about Arduinos is that they are super easy. They're really good to get an idea of the process, but they do kind of cripple you in that they are like training wheels, and you do eventually want to take off the training wheels if you want to make like serious improvements to a system. That being said, if our experience does not go too far past Arduinos, we can totally implement everything with Arduinos, and that's totally fine. If no one else wants to talk about their experience, I'm really interested to see the experience that Isai has to bring to the table. Isai, do you think you have a moment to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'd say I have about 4 years of experience using Arduinos, like the Uno, the Teensy, the Nano. Raspberry Pi, I don't have as much experience, but I do know some of it, kind of programming in Python, HTML, CSS, and a bit of Jetson, just because I'm also part of the RoboCell project. I'm the electrical lead there. I
Nice.
do know somewhat using a Jetson. But yeah, like you said, it's very flexible. You need to know some programming, some electrical stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely need to be able to work with what information we have. Let's see, we talked about our skills, and so I believe I already mentioned the benefits of SolarCar. I don't know if everyone caught that, but essentially it provides you with the opportunity to work with other people, and it provides you the opportunity of having something on your resume that looks really nice, specifically a team that competes. That's huge. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that and go off to priorities. Now, I wanted to mention here at some point what our responsibilities to this project is. I said in the beginning that this is not a job, and I want you guys to think of this more along the lines of as a team. Now, what we would like is to compete, and to even better than compete, we would like to win, right? Because that looks the best. That would be the biggest bang for our buck. But I want to remind everybody that there are other things in your life that are going on while you are on this team. I don't know if anyone has experienced this in real life, but I know everyone has probably experienced like a movie where there was some kid and he got on the high school football team or what have you, and he's doing really well, but then he can't compete last minute because he's failing his history class. And what usually happens in that situation is someone will come out and say, "Hey, you're failing history. We're going to cut you from the team if you don't pass this next history exam." Now, obviously, that's not real life. It's not generally that dramatic, but I definitely want to put this out there that if you have to choose between your grades and Solar Car, choose your grades. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention here is that we are working on a team, as I stated previously, and our team members do not just stop here at Driver Interface. They include every other sub-team. Specifically, we're going to be working very, very closely with both electrical and mechanical. Driver Interface is basically kind of this buffer between the two, making sure that everything is working cohesively so that the driver can interact with the car can interact with the driver, etc., etc. And so we need to have a really good understanding of how those systems also work. So what I would highly, highly recommend everybody in this team to do is to go and meet other students who are on those teams. Specifically, I would like you to interact with people on electrical and mechanical. In fact, personally, I have a meeting with the mechanical and the electrical lead going over, I believe, the electrical schematics that we are going to be implementing. So I will be able to bring to you that information. I'll go ahead and post any of the supplemental information in the Discord so that you guys can have access to it. But I definitely want you guys to go into their Discords and be like, "Hey everybody, I'm from Driver Interface. I'd like to talk to you about what systems you're working on and how Driver Interface can kind of make that situation better." Now, another thing that we would also have to do, and we don't have to do this today. I don't think we should get into any work today. I think this is more of just an introductory meeting. But one of the things that we also need to go through is we need to go through the purchased list and see what we have and see what we need. I think it looks like Asai probably has a really good idea of what we have and what we need, but we'll go ahead and cover that later. I don't want to ambush him with a lot of questions just yet. So yeah, that's the parts list. Does anyone have any input, questions, comments, concerns before we continue?
Oh, hello. I was wondering if we'll have like any in-person meeting or like.
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think that's more of a philosophical question than it is.
Sorry, 'cause, like I don't know how like working remotely will like work for like this project.
No, that is definitely something that the leads and the project leads we are currently discussing that. We've been discussing that for some time now, and we're probably going to continue to discuss it. We're definitely looking at workarounds. I can tell you that we have things that we can do remotely from our computers and from our individual works. Who here is there anybody here that is not in a STEM degree? So you're not computer science, you're not electrical, you're not engineering. Do we have anything like that? Okay, I'm going to assume not. So there is a standard for hardware and software capable machines that you must have in order to be a part of the STEM college at UCR. You need to have a computer, basically at least a laptop, that can run certain software pretty easily, and they give you the specs. You should have received this information from your guidance counselors, and this is if you're a freshman or a second year, third year, fourth year, etc. So you should be able to run SolidWorks and PSpice and all those other things. And I also know that if you're having trouble paying for those things, that they do offer you cash reimbursements for obtaining a machine with such capability. I know I had to do that myself. I got the Razer Blade 15 because it had the separate graphics card, and I chose it specifically because it has the Razer logo, and Razer is awesome. Anyways, so I know that it can be kind of daunting to get the equipment necessary to work on this stuff from home, but I know that it's not out of the realm of possibility. And if even at that point where you still don't have the ability to work on things, I know that there are still things that you can be learning. I know that there are still, realistically, you should be able to work on a lot of this stuff with just like pencil and paper, or just like a notepad on just like a random laptop. And so we're definitely looking into ways for everybody to be able to contribute, regardless of your abilities. And you're absolutely right. The coronavirus has made things very difficult, and working on a vehicle remotely, it doesn't seem super effective, and I understand that completely, but we are, life continues. One of the great hallmarks of people in STEM fields, or college-educated people in general, is our ability to adapt and our ability to overcome. So, yeah, that's gonna be our test, is figuring out how to do this remotely. That's a great point to bring up. And I can tell you, we are looking at resolutions. Me personally, and the other leads, it is definitely a big concern, and we're definitely not taking it lightly. As far as in-person meetings, it does not look at this moment like a very good idea. And it appears that for the time being, we're going to have to be okay with the Zoom meetings and the exchanging of information via software. So we're going to have SolidWorks projects on our physical implementations, and we're going to have software. So if someone needs code for their Arduino or their Raspberry Pi or their microcontroller, we're going to be working on that at home, and then we're going to be sending it to each other via internet. Right? And if we do run into problems, I am personally experienced in being able to find alternatives to getting working code. So one of the traps is thinking, okay, I can't do a design unless I have a specific, like, say for instance, IDE. Like, a lot of people really like Visual Studios, but there are a number of different ways that you can get code to work that don't require a huge, really expensive IDE. Like, it's the possibilities are pretty endless. I know a lot of you are CS people. You either know this or you're about to learn this, I can tell you. Does that answer your question, or at least address it?
Yes, thank you.
No problem at all. Does anyone else have comments, concerns?
Yeah, I had I guess both a comment and a question.
Of course.
So I guess my comment is, since you're all CS, you're gonna learn to use it eventually, but GitHub is definitely a great way to share information. Like, even if you can't like test code yourself, you're able to send it to someone else. But also a question is, for Nathaniel, do you know? So you're saying that we're gonna use SolidWorks, right? Does that mean you're gonna have everybody here working on the SolidWorks design for the driver interface? Like, we're not getting a mechanical person to work on it?
I know, well, there's a mechanical team, and they're definitely going to be doing more SolidWorks stuff, but that's going to be more for, like, the body of the car. Like, if I have my information correct, the last lead for driver interface was a mechanical engineer, Zachary Marshall, and I believe he's still on, like, he moved to mechanical, I believe. Let me actually see if I have that.
Yeah, Zach,
correct.
he was the lead before. He's the mechanical lead now. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, like, because before we had a mechanical guy be the lead, so he was able to design that. That's, like, this time we just have CS people.
Yes, and that's actually kind of, we kind of lucked out with that, because essentially there is a mechanical side to this and a software side of this. If you think about it, and he was able to take care of a lot of stuff. I haven't been able to get any of it open, but there is a Google Drive where he has all of like the models already laid out. They might need to be redesigned depending on decisions that we make in the future regarding our devices with regards to Raspberry Pis and Arduinos, microprocessors, etc. But I know he has also agreed to help us with any redesigns. So if we do run into trouble, that can only be solved by someone who is really knows their way around SolidWorks. I know that all we have to do is kind of reach out to mechanical and get that stuff straightened away. This also provides an opportunity for anyone who is working on driver interface to actually get really well versed in SolidWorks. I know that this is an invaluable tool regardless of whether or not you're CS or electrical, mechanical, etc. I believe there is another electrical engineer in here, and I know that I agree with you that if you don't really want to learn SolidWorks, but I know that some positions will still make you learn SolidWorks. So this is something that we're going to have to deal with in our professional lives. Software and things that we don't necessarily want to do, but things that we still have to do. They're still a part of our responsibilities. So there are a few ways we can figure out the SolidWorks issues, but I am confident that we will definitely come to a solution pretty soon. We definitely have the resources for it, and there are people in the other teams that are way more comfortable with SolidWorks if it comes down to it. Awesome. We have about 10 minutes left because I have yet to get Zoom Premium. Are there any last minute comments, questions, concerns from anyone else? Nope.
Yes. As for like the physical hardware, for like people that are coding, sorry, how would a coder like end up interfacing with like actual physical hardware, or like will we have access to physical hardware?
So that's going to depend an awful lot on your skill level. If you're very, very new to interfacing with hardware, I can't. It's going to be harder for me to justify sending it to you. But what you're going to be able to do is that whoever has that hardware, they're going to have the necessary parts to kind of flash that information and test it out. And then you're going to have, all you really need to code one of these things is the syntax, well understood, and say like a Notepad program. And then all you have to do is send that over, and then they can turn that into like an executable or like something that you could flash onto that hardware. So whether or not you have access to that physically is kind of iffy, but will you be able to interact with it at least from remotely? Yes, you will be able to interact with this with the hardware that we have, and that does remind me that I do want to post on the Discord at some point a list of all the hardware that we do have, so you can take a look at it. I know we have Arduinos and we have Raspberry Pis, so if you want to start looking into how we affect those through code, that would be good. Another thing that I would recommend, there are two other things I would recommend looking into, and that would be a PSpice program, and realistically any program that allows you to design circuits, and then another one would be, of course, SolidWorks, so that we can design the physical aspects of the car, or at least redesign them if necessary.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Wait, can you put like a list of softwares that we might need for like this project?
Sure. I will look into it, and I'll try and get it posted on the Discord by the end of the day.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Okay, so we have about 6 minutes left, but I don't think I'm going to need 6 minutes. It was a huge pleasure meeting all of you. I'm so happy that you decided to come to the first meeting. I really hope you come to the next meeting. For the next meeting, we're going we're gonna have someone take the minutes. I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer for that to be a driver interface scribe. If not, I will go ahead and assume the duties. But it's definitely an opportunity for somebody to kind of take that initiative and show that they did that. We also need to start working on a VDR, which is a vehicle design report, and we need to have a tentative schedule, which, as I said before, you have personal lives, you have classes, so if we don't stick to that schedule, it's not going to be a huge deal. We're going to get out of this project the amount of effort that we put into it, but I don't want that to ruin your grades or your personal lives at the same time. So that's really just a formality. So we need to take care of that next week. If you guys choose to stay on, I really hope you do. Yeah, so what I would do, what I highly encourage everyone to do, is to go out and meet specifically the people on the electrical and the mechanical teams, figure out what kind of systems they're working on, and figure out how best we can compensate that. I also I've been asked by the project leads to ask each of you if you could change your profile picture on Skype to something that is semi-professional. An example would be my picture. I don't know if you can see it very well, but that's me in a suit, but the sleeves are rolled up and I'm being a bit casual. Something like that would kind of make this look a bit more professional, and it really does look good, especially since these meetings are going to be uploaded and will be available to a certain number of people. And then the final announcement for today is that on the 18th, which is a Sunday, at 2 p.m., we are going to be having a team building exercise where we will be playing Among Us. And if we get enough people from Just Driver Interface, it's going to be just us. I believe the game is free on phones. Has anyone here played Among Us?
Yep.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, so that's going to be on the 18th at 2 p.m. and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that information is available to you on the Discord as well. Yeah, it's a team building exercise. Don't feel like you have to, but like it would be very awesome if you guys were able to show up, for sure. So I guess with the remaining 3 minutes, I'll allow anyone who has anything to say to come out and say it.
I just want to say if you have any questions for me, well, mostly Nathaniel, but anybody else too, like if you have any questions for me about driver interface, what we did last year, then feel free to ask.
Besides what you said you're going to put in the Discord, is there anything else that we should like look into, like as a good starting point?
Isai, do you want to get that? Well, can you actually just give us like a rough estimate of where you guys were when power was transferred over this summer?
Sure. So from last year, we had a few of the like electrical things kind of figured out. It was mostly about getting them to work with a microcontroller. We were going to use an Arduino Uno, and also, well, I think kind of most importantly, the screen that we were supposed to add using Raspberry Pi. Not sure how much progress we got there, because kind of like the person who was working on it wasn't really showing up. But I guess if you guys can look more into creating a GUI on a Python, or not a Python, but I mean like the Raspberry Pi. We're planning on using Python, but I mean, it depends on what you can do.
So, when you get a Raspberry Pi, generally speaking, they're going to come preloaded with a software called Linux. And I would suggest learning how to use a Linux operating system. I would also encourage you to look into, and if you don't want to buy a Raspberry Pi or anything, there are a plethora of ways you can get a virtual machine on your computer. All you really have to do is Google virtual machine Linux. I believe it's Debian. It comes is the distribution for Linux. or for Raspberry Pi specifically, and then any distribution of Linux, whatever it is going to have a Python compiler already integrated into it. So then you just need to learn the syntax, and then you can run the programs inside the terminal. And if you research into Linux, you can definitely do that. We can hop into the Discord chat if you guys want to keep going, because we're about to get kicked out.
That sounds good. I had 1 or 2 questions.
Yes, of course. I'm going to end the Zoom meeting, and then we're going to head over to Discord. We're going to meet in General 1. All right?
Yep.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome.
As for you were mentioning Skype. Did you mean Zoom or
I thought I
are
said
we
Discord.
using Skype?
I don't believe I said Skype.
Okay.
Did I say Skype? If I said Skype, that's...
Okay.
Oh, that was a mistake if I said Skype.
Okay, so we should update our Discords.
Yes. Yes. So
Okay.
if you scroll
And
up
then
here, the channels with the hashtags, those are going to be, you see general driver interface, go on to electrical, talk to people, go on to mechanical, talk to people, go on to driver interface, talk to each other, and then if we ever need more time from a Zoom meeting, we can pop in here and it should work, especially if it's just like
Awesome.
the last couple of minutes. So was the person here who was asking me what to research in the time being until our next meeting, are they here right now? Haley, if you're trying to talk...
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you now.
Hello?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know why my mic wasn't working.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I can probably research a bit about the GUI. So that sounds good. I also have a Raspberry Pi, like I said earlier, so I'm
Oh,
gonna
okay, awesome.
probably just play around with that more, maybe.
Yeah, so have you ever programmed anything in
If
Python on your
that's what we're
Raspberry Pi?
planning.
I believe we're
No.
going to incorporate
I
both...
programmed on Python, but not on my.
Well, the Raspberry Pi, to program it, it's pretty awesome. I believe the header files are actually already on your Python. It's going to be the GPIO, the general purpose input output stuffs, and that allows you to connect to the pins. So I was actually going to go ahead and I did a project on the Raspberry Pi where it was like a very basic Python script, and I was connecting it on a breadboard where I had an ultrasonic detector. So like it sends out an ultrasonic pulse and then counts how long it takes for that pulse to come back. It does some math and then it says, okay, the nearest object is this many centimeters away from me. So it was a distance sensor, right? You can plug that directly into your Raspberry Pi using the GPIO header files, and you can have that information shown to you in real time on the terminal. That's on the Linux operating system that most Raspberry Pis are going to come preloaded with. Things like that I would get good at doing. Another thing that I would do is I would also look into generally how to program on microcontrollers and how to program on Arduinos. I have an Arduino here, so I'm going to be working on mine as well, and I think Isai probably be a better person to go to for questions on the Arduino, since he seems to have a lot of experience with that. And definitely rely on your teammates, because there's definitely strength in numbers. For now, though, I would focus on that. I would also look into getting SolidWorks if you could. If you are a part of BCOE, is computer science a part of BCOE?
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So then we all have like the same laptop requirements and all that, and we all have engineering accounts. Or I think you guys probably don't have an engineering account. You probably have like a CS account. But either way, you should be able.
Yeah,
You should
it's
have
CS
access. Yeah. In order to get SolidWorks, I know that you need to have like a VPN in order to have it activated. You should be able to contact the people at engineering or CS to figure out how to get that. you should be able to have access to it. If you guys don't have it because you're CS, that's a pretty big hit. But again, a lot of the SolidWorks stuff has already been done, and there just needs to be refinements based on the furthering of our like display stuff. And then I have to talk to one of the project managers about this, but I think also learning, understanding in concept what's called the CAN bus network system would also be very useful, but I don't know for sure. Like I would just kind of like read the wiki on that and get a concept for it before before you dive deep into it, and I'll let you know later on if we're gonna have to dive really far into it, but it looks like we might.
Okay, that sounds good.
Awesome. I'm glad I could help. So as far as my position, obviously I'm responsible for making sure that everything is up to standard. I'm responsible for making sure that we have a clear schedule, and I'm responsible for making sure that everybody is able to do their jobs, right? So you need to be, before you can program, you need to learn how to program. So it's not necessarily that I'm going to be doing all the work and you guys are helping me, so much as it is just my personal responsibility to make sure that everybody is operating at a good level. Either you're learning or you're doing, and so don't think that you have to come to me personally, because there are people in this group specifically that actually have more experience than I do. So this is a team effort. My position is more formal and administrative than it is like go-to tech person, but I do have a lot of experience with a lot of this stuff, so I can definitely help out where I can. And in any instance where I don't have the required expertise to immediately tell you, we can together figure out how to get that expertise in your toolkit. So with that, I think we're just about done. I think we've accomplished everything that I set out to do with this first meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and call it, unless anyone else has anything else that they'd like to say.
So I just have one more question.
Of course.
This is a competition, right?
Yes.
And when's like the final cutoff date? Is what I want to ask.
I believe that every year they hold the competition, and whether or not we participate in this year's competition or next year's competition is based off of how close we are, or if we are ready to go. So
I see.
And again, because like I mentioned several times already, it's not a job, so there are gonna be other things that are gonna come up. We are dealing with a global pandemic. We're dealing with, just in general, STEM classes. These are very difficult classes. We have responsibilities to our families. We have responsibilities to our academic careers. So our ability to progress forward, while we definitely want to progress as far as we can and get as much done as we can, if we can't, that's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? And there's always next year. And if this isn't your final year at UCR, you always can come back next year. There's no, it's your position is not in jeopardy, right? If you want to leave and then come back later, that's perfectly fine. If you want to leave for a few weeks to study for your finals, that's totally fine. If you want to take a couple months off because you're not feeling it, but then later on you decide, I really did like having that, you can come back and come back to us. So I wouldn't worry too much about the pressure. I wouldn't let the pressure get to you. That's one thing that I would highly recommend. But like, if we can put in the time, we can put in the effort, and we can work really hard, we can accomplish a lot. We can try and get into the competition. I know Brittany, one of the project managers, she really wants to get to the competition this year, and I believe that we could. But man makes plans and God laughs. So
that's true. Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Of course. All right. Thank you so much. Please come back next week. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing this every week or if I'm going to eventually go to bi-weekly, but for right now, we are going to be doing it every week until we decide we don't need it or figure out if we need more time. We might also change up the schedule a bit, because I know that there were some people that couldn't make 4. So we're gonna keep this schedule isn't permanent, but for now, I would consider this to be our schedule for the time being. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Ew.
You.